Do you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definitions of these words.
So I came across this article from Video Game Chronicles. Analyst thinks Take-Two will sell Grand Theft Auto 6 at an unprecedented $100 price point, saying that integrating the online component will allow it to achieve that massive price point without significant backlash. Now, this is according to Michael Pachter, Managing Director of Equity Research at Wedbush Securities. Now, what he is saying is if they were to give a large amount of in-game currency to be spent in GTA Online, Take-Two could get away with the $100 US price tag for GTA 6. And as the typical swarmy, slimy, legal-esque financial gurus tend to do, cite precedents from past cases like Call of Duty. Of course, no mention as to whether or not that was an actual popular maneuver by the company. Now, this is absurd enough. However, there is a reason why I played that Cat Williams quote or that Cat Williams clip in the beginning, and I will get into it after a bit. But there was another article, and this is the first one that made me realize, this entire thing is a plant, or it smells like a plant. And I'm going to show you something after in a bit. But Screen Rant, in an attempt to run cover or to justify this potential $100 price increase, they want to make the case that older titles such as GTA on PS1 were at that price or higher. So here, $100 US is a lot, but PS1 games cost around that much adjusted for inflation. Does this not sound like an industry trying to normalize something on the consumer? There's a channel called Midnight Edge, and they will often make these claims about the trades, that they're really mouthpieces for the big movie conglomerates and Hollywood in general. And sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, their messaging is very targeted to normalize some weird agenda of Hollywood. I think we need to view games, quote unquote, journalists or journalists in much the same way. Paid cheerleaders. Because this is nothing but PR spin. So let me tackle one of the biggest flaws with this argument first, and then show you why I think this is a plant. So they try to make the case that in the past this thing used to happen, therefore in the present we should replicate the that particular event or phenomenon in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one to say that tradition should be abolished just because it's archaic or outdated. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, with technology, the whole point is that we make it cheaper and more ubiquitous, right? That is the whole thing about technology. So it's an ass backwards take to say, we've been advancing in terms of games being cheaper on the consumer side, thanks to the massively increased markets over the decades. And now we're supposed to pivot and go back to the pricing of games 30 years ago. The content isn't even that good, but I digress. Because quite frankly, not everything that was in place 30 years ago was warranted or is a good thing. Sometimes we can improve upon the state of affairs 30 years ago. But let us even continue with their paradigm. So what else happened in the past? Well, we had the video game crash of 1983. We also had another one in 1977, but I want to focus on this one. 1983, alright? So what were the prices of video games around that time? Well, 1982, the cartridges cost $28 US. And that would be roughly $100 to $150 adjusted through, adjusted to 2025 prices. So, Why is it that this article only pinpointed one instance in which the prices of games were $100 and nothing bad happened? As a matter of fact, games were booming at that point. There was another case in which games cost $100, and around that time, the games industry crashed. Now, the games industry didn't just crash because it cost $100 in 1982 or 83. It's because we were flooded with a lot of games, and we had very poor quality games, among other things. Now, I think that you will be hard pressed to find gamers who say that we have the same caliber of games now, for the past 5 years, 10 years, as we did 20 years ago. Quite frankly, if I was born now and I didn't grow up on the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation and the PS2, I don't think I would be as invested in games as I currently am. You have a few good games, but they are few and far in between compared to the banger after banger after banger that we got back in the earlier days. So you are looking at a system, at an industry in which we have increased slop being pushed. This is a new dimension altogether, where now identity politics is being infused into games that actively bashes, to be generous, half of the player base. So you have that going on. You have the massive discrepancy between the game requirements in terms of hardware and the cost of acquiring that level of performance. And I do believe that it's because of the premature injection of ray tracing and all this nonsense back in the RTX 2000 series. But maybe I'll make another video on that at some other point. And you have games that are just buggy as hell, to the point where now it is our standards have dropped so low that it is expected that a game is broken and buggy and it will be fixed later. We expect it to be nickel and dimed and fleeced. As soon as a game comes out, the consumer themselves are wondering what will the DLC be like. So amidst all of that, you want to now raise the price to $100? To me, it's so as if you want to recreate, unwillingly perhaps, but you're going to recreate a similar environment that led to the crash back in 1983. High price of games. The consumer is being flooded by a tsunami of games, and it's damn near impossible to parse and say which one might be up your street. You have divisive identity politics being shoved in left, right, and center, both from the games and the games journalists and your fellow gamers as well. You still do have the Nvidia AMD fanboy, or Intel having the fanboys? Well, I don't know. But PC versus, you still have that going on. And then you have the horrendous situation of trying to acquire the appropriate hardware to play those games. When you do get the game, they're broken, half of the features don't work. You have to wait for updates, which meant that you played an inferior version of the game, assuming that it even gets updated, and then you'll be nickel and dimed for your troubles. But here's the fun part now. So you go back to this article from Take Two, and it's Wedbush Securities, right? So you do a quick Google search, Wedbush. Gary Wedbush is the president and CEO. All right. They said that Pactor is in the equity research branch. All right. Equity research. Let's see, focus on delivering alpha within healthcare. I actually don't know what FIG, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But all business related stuff. Now going down. Oh, here is Michael Pactor. Software retail, entertainment retail and software analyst. All right, click on Mr. Pactor. All right, so he's managing director at Wedbush Securities. He has some involvement with E3. Now he's covering that sector for the past 20 years. That's longer than some people have been alive who are now gamers. So he has a master's in business administration, has first degrees in political science, all these things. Okay, so his edge comes from his 20 plus years in equity research, and he's a highly regarded industry leader and the go-to expert for virtually every name he covers. All right. So what companies does he cover? Amazon, AMC, AppLovin Corp, I don't know, Beyond Inc. I'm going to give you time to read some of this. CD Projekt. Okay, so he has some credibility, maybe not credibility, he has some interaction with the gaming industry. Notice, however, that CD Projekt did run afoul of gamers. Was that under his watch? I don't know. Oh, Electronic Arts. With how bad the reputation they have, I'm not sure this is a flex. GameStop, alright, IMAX, Logitech, Netflix, oh, Nintendo. Well, Nintendo has been doing good, so that's pretty cool. Take-Two Interactive Software. Huh. It's funny that in this article, they did not mention that he manages Take-Two. Or Take-Two is under his financial coverage here. So what this should read, rather than just analyst, is analyst managing Take-Two thinks Take-Two should sell Grand Theft Auto 6 for $100. You see, by by omitting the interaction, the relationship that Mr. Pachter has with Take-Two, you would think that it's just a neutral third party making an objective assessment. But no, it is within his best interest that this holds true, because this is his way, I believe, of setting the stage for his client, Take-Two, to sell GTA6 for $100 or more. And here's the sad part. Despite this obviously being a plant, and also by these articles not mentioning that the man who said this is in charge of Take-Two's finances, he isn't wrong. We've proven, gamers, consumers in general, we've proven to be quite foolish, and we will simply buy whatever they tell us to buy, as long as it has sufficient hype behind it. So I do believe he is actually correct, and they could sell GTA 6 at $100 on people base, and it would still be the best selling game of all time. Now, two popular arguments against this or for this would be, one, what do you care about what persons do with their money, and what persons do with their money doesn't affect you. Here's the problem. Just because you are myopic and you are unable to see how something will affect you in the long run does not mean that it doesn't have an impact. If 20 million persons decide that they want to buy this thing for $100, you know what's going to happen? The new price of all AAA games will be $100, and that will not affect me. This idea of, oh, don't trouble anyone or don't comment on anyone's decision, it sounds nice when the goal is self-serving. It's a very convenient excuse. But if you were to be objective and look at things on a broader strokes, you would realize, oh, this thing can have a negative impact, so we probably should not endorse it. We probably should not allow it, even though right now at this moment it doesn't affect me. So anyway, let me know what you think about this. Not only the idea of Take-Two selling GTA 6 for $100, but whether or not this entire movement here, these articles are actually industry plans of them trying to normalize this idea and this concept.